So once again, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us, or at least registering for the retreat for 2024, which is entitled Kartik Immersive Retreat, because the idea is to absorb ourselves and immerse ourselves in Dham in the month of Kartik and hear from the advanced devotees. And I'm very happy to share, today we have with us His Grace Vaiśeṣika Prabhu, who will be joining us in Vṛndāvana-dhāma, along with Her Grace Mother Nirakula. Both of them will be with us for the 4.5, 5 days while we are in Vrindavan, and we will get their association. So it's always nice to build that relationship, with Vaishnavas like them before we actually go to Dham. So Maharaj, out of his very busy schedule, managed to take out 40 minutes for us today. So we are very, very grateful. Those of you who do not know His Grace Vaiśeṣika Prabhu, His Grace Vaiśeṣika Prabhu has been serving in the movement for nearly 45 years. He was 15 years old when he came in touch with Prabhupada's Back to Godhead magazine through his friend Richie Kosa. And that book, having read that magazine, changed his life. Then he read Bhagavad Gita and decided to dedicate his life. From that day on till this day, Maharaj has not looked back, and he's not only looking forward, but taking so many of us forward in our Krishna consciousness. He's also the temple president at ISKCON Silicon Valley, a very thriving community, where recently, believe it or not, we used to only hear 300, 400 devotees, but over 655 devotees took part in the recent Bhadra campaign there. And Maharaj is also a BBT trustee and a minister of book distribution for the entire ISKCON. Maharaj comes here every year once. We are hoping from this year it'll be twice. And we are very, very lucky because Maharaj wants to help Europe, to establish Europe. Its original glory is what it used to be in the days when Prabhupada was on the planet. So we are trying to really work with him under his guidance. And all of you will become part of that Europe mission as you come to this yatra. So now, without any further delay, I'd like to invite Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for being with us tonight. And warm welcome to you on behalf of myself and my wife, Vindarika Ramya, and my family, Sridham and Sachi, who will be hosting this retreat under your guidance in Vrindavan, and then under the guidance of Amoglila Prabhu in Mayapur. Over to you, Maharaj. Thank you so much for being with us.
Vancha kalpatarusha kripa sindhavesha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Deval and Hardiki, did you make it home already?
Yes, Maharaj, they arrived 2 hours ago.
That's crazy. I just saw him last night here in California. Wow, what a world we live in. Hare Krishna, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here because the subject matter is so relishable, and that is that we're taking an opportunity, all of us together, to go and be in the Dham and to be of service. And Śrī Vṛndāvana-dhāma is non-different from Krishna. This was one of the teachings of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu from the Caitanya-mañjusā, wherein one of the Vaishnavas has compiled the main points that Caitanya Mahaprabhu made. He said, Ārādhyo bhagavān vrajeśa-tanaya tad-dhāmaṁ Vṛndāvana. There are several points. The first one he makes is that there's no difference between Śrī Vṛndāvana-dhāma and Krishna himself. And someone may say, prove it. My experience is that the proof is in the feeling that one gets when one goes to Śrī Vṛndāvana-dhāma. It's not that you can do some geological test, but the resonance, that is, the way that the Dham resonates with us, with our hearts, with our minds, the way it makes us feel, becomes very obvious. I always notice that entering into the Dham brings a special feeling. And when we leave the Dham, we also notice that there are concentric circles around it. And the further away one gets, the more you feel that you're leaving the Dham. For instance, when you're in Vrindavan for a while, which all of us will be together, and you become immersed, and that's the name I saw of the the yatra, the immersion, which, by the way, means, it comes from Latin. In means in, and mergere means to dip, means to like jump in a tank of some liquid. So the immersion means when you go there, you feel enveloped by the Dham's energy. And one way that you can feel it, especially, is when you leave the Dham. Always notice that when we're going further away, I don't even like to bring this up, but when we leave the Dham, and there is a time in which we do, and get closer and closer to the Delhi airport to fly home. Once you get into the airport, you start feeling separation from the Dham. And there's some workers there at the Dham, they'll see you as a devotee, and they'll go, Radhe, Radhe, and you go, finally somebody, because most of the people there go, what's wrong with you people? Why aren't you chanting Hare Krishna? In Vrindavan, even the rickshaw wallahs, when they want you to move to the side so they don't run you over, they say, Radhe, Radhe. And of course, a friend of mine once said, every realm is distinguished by its sound vibration. Even in the Gayatri mantra, Om Bhurrbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur, there's a way in which each one of the hierarchical realms in the material world is defined by the subtlety of its sound. The highest sound vibration is there in the spiritual world, and you'll find that in Vrindavan. In fact, mentioned in Sri Brahma Samhita, that every word is a song in the spiritual world, every gate is a dance. And you'll notice that in Vrindavan, for instance, at Govardhan Hill, there's no earthly reason for people to be walking around Govardhan Hill. After all, they're going in a circle, ending up the same place they started from. Why are they moving? Why are they walking? There is devotion. And one of my favorite views of Vrindavan is from Govardhan Hill, where we stay in an ashram called Bhaktivedanta Ashram. And I can look through the gate and just watch all the pilgrims walking by. It is very satisfying to see them moving just for the purpose of worshiping by walking Padasevanam around Sri Vṛndāvana-dhāma. And this immersive experience where we feel that while we're walking on the earth of Sri Vrindavan, the famous Braj Raj dust, there's some conductivity. I've felt before in walking around Govardhan Hill, for instance, that there's a kind of spiritual electricity that goes through. And I thought of it the way I think of the transportation system here in San Francisco, which is being replaced. But when I grew up here, there's a series of wires that go around the whole city, and they have these electric buses, and they connect from the bus to the wires above, two rods. And somehow or other, they stay on track and they go all the way around the city like that. And walking around Govardhan Hill, I always feel my 2 feet are connected to the spiritual electricity that comes through Govardhan. And one can feel that as one's just walking. You're not going to the office. You're not going anywhere. You're just walking in service. And that feeling of the spiritual electricity comes up through your feet, enters your heart, and you feel purified. You feel enlivened from walking around. So, Ārādhyo bhagavān vrajeśa-tanaya tad-dhāmaṁ Vṛndāvana. It's not different from Kṛṣṇa. How do you know that? Well, we're human beings. We feel very deeply. It's one of the nice things about being a human. So we have the capacity to feel things. And you can feel it for yourself. And you can also feel a little melancholy when you leave the Dham and say, why do I feel that I'm missing it so much? And how I'm missing the vibration, and I wish I could go back there. And that's one of the greatest benefits of going to the Dham. Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, you should always live in Vṛndāvan. And if you can't go there physically, then in your mind and heart, you should live there. And it's been my experience that going there and having the personal awareness of the subtlety of the spiritual energy of the Dham, or seeing something that inspires you. It could be anything. You could be walking along and see something that flashes in your mind's eye and you think, oh, that's something significant. If you get one of those experiences by going to the Dham, you can add it to your portfolio, your spiritual portfolio. They really add up. And you start to develop a relationship with the Dham. Sometimes you meet people there. And for instance, I've been going to Govardhan Hill for Kartik. This will be my 23rd year this year. And up to, I guess, 18, 19, 20 years walking around Govardhan Hill at Uddhavakund. On my way around, each day I'd stop in at Uddhavakund, and there was a pujari there, an elderly person, and he would just sit there all day long giving charnamrit. So I'd always go down, get some charnamrit, and then I'd put my head down, and he'd always tap me on the head and say, happy, happy, happy. And I'd walk away happy. And he'd say a few words to me in Hindi, like, oh, you're doing this every day? How nice. And it just became something I looked forward to. One of the residents of the Dham, somebody who lives there, to walk by and just get a little encouraging words. Somebody saying, oh, yeah, I see what you're doing here. And you might see animals. Well, you will see animals, that's for sure. And people and pageantry. There's so many festivals going on during that time. And also just the rush of people going to temples. That's something else that's impressed me. The first couple of years before I started staying at Govardhan Hill, I lived at the Goshala in Vṛndāvan. And my friend there had an old ambassador car. He wasn't even Indian, and he drove an ambassador. Everyone laughed at him like, nobody drives in India. You get a driver, what to speak of an ambassador. So he had this old ambassador car he fixed up a little bit, just a little. And we used to drive over every morning to do our Govardhan Parikrama. I remember one morning leaving, we'd have to leave early, like 3:30 a.m. And as we were driving out, I just saw the roads were packed with people. I said, hey, what's going on? And he said, oh, it's Ekadashi. And in New York City, London, people are jammed in because they're walking to work because they have to, or they're going to school because they have to. That's karma. You're forced into it. But these people, they're inspired to come out and go to all the temples for Mangalarti that they can possibly go to early in the morning. And they're all carrying something. Mostly, I would see people carrying these garlands made of marigolds. But the impression of everybody out moving, but for a different reason, it just went right into my heart. And from that day, I thought, Ekadashi is so important. Take advantage. These people are spiritually wise. They have a high spiritual IQ because they know when there's a time when it's the bonus round, you go for it. It's Ekadashi, you get out there and you go for it. That goes for Kartik also. There's different times where it's easier to do spiritual practice. For instance, the time in the day is during the Brahma Muhurta. If you get in the habit of waking up on time for Brahma Muhurta hour, then you never regret it. It becomes an easier life, and spiritual practice becomes easier because you've already made a major investment spiritually by the time the sun comes up. That's invaluable. Most people miss that their whole life. And then during the month, Ekadashi. What a great time. We'll take any excuse to do extra sadhana, but Ekadashi is a bona fide day. It's Hari Vasara. It's the day of Lord Hari. So you can say, hey, everybody, this is Lord Hari's day. I'm going to do something extra today. And then during the year, you get Kartik. And that's a time like all of you are doing. I admire what you're doing because it takes so much consideration to drop everything that you're doing to leave for Kartik. And I assure you that the austerity that you're performing, number one, travel is like a little mini death because you have to decide what to leave behind and what to take with you, right? You might already be thinking about it. What am I going to pack? What am I going to leave behind? And at death, of course, you don't get to consider much. You just leave everything behind, except for your subtle body. But you'll also inevitably travel. Travel comes from the word travail. And travail, if you trace it back etymologically, it comes from a word, it's an instrument of torture. It was kind of whip that had 3 prongs on it that would torture people. So obviously travel can be inconvenient, but all the inconvenience, say the Shastras on Parikram and pilgrimage, all the inconveniences you experience going to the Dham and coming back from the Dham, what to speak of when you're staying there, they all go towards your spiritual investment. Nothing's lost. And nothing's lost on Krishna either, obviously. He knows everything, Vedaham Samatitani. But when he sees that you're willing to drop your business for a little while, whatever you're doing, whoever you're taking care of, whatever money you're making, and you just say, hey, that's it. I'm going to the Dham. And you put it behind you and you just go. You'll never be the loser. You're always the gainer. And it's a way of showing Krishna, you're the most important to me. And it starts in that way of taking these trips to the Dham to make a little sacrifice of travel, put behind all the things that are so important in your life. And then also you get to see everything gets taken care of. Life goes on without me, and here I am in the Dham. It's the greatest sense of enjoyment I think you can have is to notice that you did the right thing for Krishna. And entering into the Dham, there is a sense when we move about this world that we don't just automatically get to go everywhere. We're all aware of when we travel to different countries, you have to have your papers in order. You can't enter anywhere without a passport. And a lot of places you have to have a passport and a visa. And so there's a way that going into the Dham should also have this sense that I'm doing this under guidance. This is a nice way to feel. When Prabhupada was here with us, he told us to come to the Dham every year. He wanted all of us, all of his disciples, followers, he said, come to the Dham. And that's when preaching was going on fever pitch. And he said, that's all right. Whatever it is, put it aside and just come. And it was on his word that Mahendra Prabhu had chartered a jetliner for all of us. That's actually the first 2 times I went to the Dham. It was all devotees. We had enough devotees on the West Coast, East Coast to get our own jet. And so we'd all get on. And back in the old days, those planes used to have movie screens. Now there's a screen on every seat. But back then there was one movie screen for everybody and everyone had to watch the same movie. And when we took over the plane, because it was our chartered plane, we set up an altar there at Corny Thai up front. We had artiques and everything like that going to the Dham. But that's because Prabhupada told us to go. Otherwise, everyone thought oh, we should just keep preaching. Even in the realm of preaching, Prabhupada said, still come to the Dham. Just put it aside. He wanted us to come there to be with him, to hear from him directly. And also he said, be there to consider how important the Dham is, and also to talk amongst yourselves, to consider how your spiritual life is going. He very specifically said, consider unity and diversity. So you could go back out and take the mood of the Dham to other people and do it in a unified way, but with your own incentives. So the qualification is taking the order. I mean, a general order, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, try to live in the Dham. At least we can go there and just offer obeisances on the dust and go to the temples in a very reverent way. Or if you're working under guidance, and it's always good to ask whoever your mentor, your guide, the guru is, to please may I have your permission to enter the Dham. And then you feel an extra sense of, yes, I've got my visa. Whatever anybody says, I was asked by Lord Caitanya to go there. My guru said, go. So we always felt like that with Prabhupada said, go. And we still feel like that because he said, come every year and spend time in these dhams. Especially, he sent us to Vṛndāvana and Mayapur and Puri. Those three places are the main dhams for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. The mood is that I'm going here in service. If we go there seeking room service, on the other hand, which I've seen before, oh, my bed's too lumpy, and why can't they bring it up to my room and so forth? I mean, you should have what you need. I'm not saying you should live in penury or be inconvenienced too much. At the same time, if you go there thinking, let me just accept whatever accommodations there are, and that's pretty much the mode of anytime you travel. Take whatever it is. And while I'm in the Dham, I should be thinking, how can I serve? How can I also just take advantage of every moment by staying in the transcendental vibration? And in the yatras, we have that opportunity that pretty much all day long, we're together and we're hearing and chanting in the morning, at night, and during the day. We're going to these amazing spots where Kṛṣṇa performed his pastimes, and there we have kirtan, bhajan, we have some discussion, and you just feel the sublimity of it. We were in Varshana last year, and we all got there, and nobody wanted to leave. You could see the devotees, blue sky, nice breeze, bhajan going on, and everyone just felt, I don't want to be anywhere else. It's nice to feel that I'm okay just being absorbed in hearing and chanting. It's good to know that you're good for it, and that you're not hankering to go to Delhi and watch a movie or something like that. You can see for yourself, I like devotional service. I like Kṛṣṇa, I like the devotees, I like to sing bhajan and so forth. So try to do as much hearing and chanting. That's my admonition to myself. We line things up so we're absorbed. Gives you permission to disconnect from the outside world. Don't worry about the news. Don't worry about anything, sporting events, whatever. Just stay absorbed in the Dham and try to make a schedule so you can hear and chant. That's my advice to myself. Stay absorbed. And serving the Dham, we always have this aspect of our dhams, of our parikrams, that when we go there, we try to also distribute prasadam and books along the way. It keeps us in this mood of giving, and it also helps us connect personally to the pilgrims who come there and also the residents. And of course, book distribution and prasadam distribution is always a deeply meaningful activity that connects us. But when you do it in the Dham, it gives you a sense of the way the world should be. Sometimes when you live in a Western country or any country outside the Dham, any place, you get a sense that you're in the minority. But when you go there, you go, oh yeah, everyone's in tune. And you go, yeah, that's reality. The spiritual world is where everyone's in sync with Krishna. And when you go outside that, there's just a little cloud called the Mahatattva outside that, where people are struggling away, trying to make their own way without Krishna. And you just realize it when you talk to people and give them prasadam and books, how sweet it is. I always recommend, if anybody's trying to start book distribution, get a little experience distributing books in the Dham, because then you'll feel what reality is, that people like Krishna. My favorite places in Vṛndāvan, well, there's so much variety there, but I'm very attached to the Krishna Balaram Mandir. And Prabhupada was there. He built that place himself. And it used to be the only temple there. It opened 1975. When we were there for the opening, Prabhupada would go for a morning walk, and there was nothing. In fact, if we had to go to Loi Bazaar, it was very difficult to get transportation, because they say, where are you going? To the ISKCON temple. Like, that's on the dark side of the moon. There's nothing there for them. So it all started in a very seemingly remote place, and now it's become quite populated by Prabhupada's influence, really. So many people are coming now to the Dham, living there. So much has grown up around it. In any case, there's so much feeling there because Prabhupada was there. He did the first artik for Krishna Balaram and so forth. I always feel if you go to the Krishna Balaram Mandir, take some time just to sit there and stare with loving eyes at Krishna and Balaram. They won't mind. Other people mind if you start staring at people. They'll like, leave me alone. Why are you looking at me? But Krishna Balaram, it's amazing. They don't mind. You can sit there and just stare at them and just chant along with the 24-hour kirtan, just be absorbed. Take some time to be in samadhi. Prabhupada says in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, when you go to the temple, he said, those who are kanishta adhikaris, when they walk in the temple, they smell the incense, they see the beauty of the deity, and their whole sense of material life is suspended. He said they're imperceptibly liberated in that moment. Take the opportunity to be fully absorbed and just sit there for a while. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, just see the deity and be there. And also Prabhupada's room. It's so nice to walk through and see where Prabhupada sat and look at his museum, where little artifacts, things that he used. There's a notebook I have one just like it. I always carry one with me. And it's almost exactly what you'll see in Prabhupada. See this size? Prabhupada had one of these. And he also had a pen. It was a big pen. This one happens to be Pentel. But in any case, you can see Prabhupada wrote on his notepad. It's in the case there. And he had these 1 through 10, a list of things to do. One of them was meeting the Prime Minister of India. And, just seeing how real Prabhupada was and all the things that he personally used, and checking out his room. And then after that, my other favorite places are the Madan Mohan Temple. It's such an iconic scene. In fact, one of our children here years ago, very bright child, actually. Now he's a very bright adult. Sorry to walk away from me, but I have this picture in my room. This is made by one of our devotees' kids. I think when he was about 8. And I always keep it here because I feel this, can you see it? It's the most iconic view of Vṛndāvana, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, I'm sorry. We're trying to take a picture there. Go ahead, Halayuda. It was signed Balaram back when now he's Vrajeśa-tanaya. But it just reminds me always of Vṛndāvana when you see the silhouette. And think of what the culture was there when the Goswamis came there to excavate all the holy places. And that Raman Temple, there's something so magical about it. And then going down the road, always going to Ārādhyo Temple, Prabhupada's room is there. I mean, when you walk in Prabhupada's room, it's ground zero. And you remember that small room. Caitanya Mahaprabhu also in Puri, Gambhīra. Gambhīra means deep. But what is it? It's just a tiny little room he sat in. Small place, big idea. And small place with probably a little stone room, but what was he thinking? He was just meditating, how do I execute the order of my spiritual master and spread this all over the world? It incubated in there. And to walk around that temple, it's just such an atmosphere that you feel, okay, maybe I can do this too. Maybe I can follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. You get that blessing, and then you can walk down through the wending alleyways of Vṛndāvana and go to Raman Temple. It's a very musical place. There's a little stand for musicians to sit in the back. Stand, I mean, it's a little platform that's raised, and they, different musicians come back there and play. And just to see Radha Raman, have the darshan there. If you can, when we go there, we like to recite some verses. Once when I was there with my godbrother, we used to travel extensively around India and Vṛndāvana. And wherever we go, we always chant the Brahma Samhita together, at least once a day in front of some deities. And we got there one day and we were chanting the Brahma Samhita together. And it was time to close. They wanted to close the altar. And the junior pujaris who were there, they were getting ready to close it. And the senior pujari was sitting over on the side, sort of leaning there. And he saw that we weren't finished yet. So he indicated to the junior pujari, say, don't close the door until we finish. And we just felt such a reciprocation from Radha Raman that, wow, they kept the doors open so we could finish our prayer. So if you go there with some special prayer to offer, you feel, I'm not guaranteeing they'll keep the door open, but I can say that something will happen when you go there to serve Kṛṣṇa. One place or another, you're going to find that, wow, Kṛṣṇa touched my heart and he recognized that I was here, either through one of his pujaris or through one of the residents there, or just through the transmission in the heart. You're going to feel that when you go to Vṛndāvana, and then you'll start getting your favorite places too, because you're going to go someplace and you'll have some experience. Last year when we went to Radha Raman, I forget which yatra it was on, but Halayuda Kripa was there. Of course, he's on every yatra. and I mean, Hadai Pran, I'm trying to say, Halayuda, you were there too, but Hadai Pran was playing the mobile harmonium, remember? And we were in Radha Raman and we came out and the kirtan was so explosive. Everybody in the courtyard started gathering around and there was a moment of resonance throughout the whole, all down the alleyway and in that area, that it was so sublime that everyone just felt transported to the spiritual world through that kirtan. And you never forget those moments when that happens. And then you'll have that in your mind and heart and think, oh, Radha Raman, let me go back there. So then, because I always had a policy, I just go to one place in Vṛndāvana and stay there. That was kind of my policy, just a few places downtown, but mostly I went to Govardhan Hill and stayed there. And then thanks to my dear disciple, Divyanam Prabhu, he coaxed me and said, "Oh, come on. Can't you come out to a few other places?" And so several years ago, I started going on the yatra with everybody, which I'm looking forward to doing with all of you, and going to all these far-flung places that I always figured, camp out, get in one place, just be there and hear and chant, don't move. And that's what I do the rest of the time, pretty much. And it's been so wonderful going to all these places that I had never seen before. And there are thousands, millions of places where Krishna performed his pastimes. And as you move around from one to the next, you'll feel, oh, this place, it has its own feel to it. And you also hear about the pastimes there and realize, oh, Krishna has his family. There's Nanda Mahārāja's house. Just like when Gopakumar went back to Godhead, when he got to Goloka, he's like, where's Nanda Mahārāja's house? I'm looking for Krishna. And some of the people were so stunned they couldn't even talk because they were feeling separation from Krishna. And he found his way and he could see there's where all the devotees were waiting for Krishna and so forth. And we'll all feel like that too when we're there. So just a few points in summary is, whatever consternation there is about getting up, getting out, getting on the flights, getting off, and traveling and so forth, that austerity, it all goes in your bank account. And then the time that you're there will be a transmission. I can't say where it's going to happen, neither can you. It's up to Krishna, but he'll descend. And he'll give you something where you just thought it was out of the ordinary. Even if it was in a seemingly ordinary circumstance, you'll feel like, I just felt something for the Dhama. It just is so charming and nice that I can't live without it anymore. And you'll have to go back again and again and again. And then just pray, Krishna, please let me enter this Dham. And if you have mentors, let them know. Because if you go under guidance and say, my dear mentor, please, I'm going to the Dham if you give me a blessing. Then when you go there, you'll feel, Krishna, I'm here, but I'm under somebody's instruction. Last thing I'll say, I mentioned my godbrother I traveled extensively with to many, many Dhams. And everywhere we went, we go into all these temples and we'd offer obeisances together. And we could hear each other offering our Guru Maharaj's pranam mantra, Nama Om Viśnūpadāya Krishna Preshtāya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarne. So one day when we just offered our prayers and we sat up, he looked at me and he said, all right, we're going before all these deities and we're saying one pranam mantra and it's to Prabhupada. Why are we doing that? I said, I don't know, you tell me, you're my senior godbrother. And he said, we're letting Krishna know who let us in here. Under whose guidance are we coming here? We're not independents. We're under somebody. We're coming here under guidance that he told me to come. This is my protector. This is the person I'm working under. And coming to the Dham with that mood that I'm under someone who told me to come here. It's the best way to approach Krishna. And it's in the deities, it's not that here I am, Krishna. It's, no, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant, a million times removed. I'm just here because somebody advised me come here and I'm doing service for them. And I come here as an insignificant soul, just surrendered to your servants. And that's the mood to enter into Vṛndāvana. If you can catch that mood, not just going to Vṛndāvana in your whole life, then Prabhupada says, if you think I'm the servant, 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 a million times removed, he said that is liberation. Om Tat Sat. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
What a topic, right?
Really
Thanks,
nice.
everyone, for volunteering to go to the Dham. And I can't wait to see you all there. Divyanam Prabhu?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to say a couple of things before you leave us. I remember many years ago when we used to come for the readings of Bhagavatam from Vrindavan to Govardhan. I think we did it for 2 or 3 years, and the third year, Vrindarika Ramya said to me, I wish there will be one day when we could go around Vrindavan with Guru Maharaj and visit Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Raman. And he specifically mentions few temples. I said, let's ask him. And I'm just sitting here thinking this was 6 years ago, and I strongly feel any spiritual desire a jiva has gets fulfilled. And so I'm very grateful that Vindarika had the desire, and we asked you the question, and you've been very, very merciful that you could be just, giving all 30 days and reading Bhagavatam, but somehow or other, you give us your time. And having seen Vrindavan through your Vani by hearing you and then going to the places has really amplified our Krishna consciousness to the next level, Guru Maharaj. So we are eternally indebted to you and Guru Ma, and we are delighted. This is the first time Guru Ma will also be joining us right at the beginning of Kartik, and we will be there for the first 5 days. So yeah, we are hoping that depending on your schedule, I'm liaising with Guru Ma. If there is an opportunity for the next Monday evening, we'll hear a little bit about Mayapur and few other things, if the time and the schedule allows, with His Grace Vaiśeṣika Prabhu. But I just wanted to end on this note. This is a beautiful stanza I read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the chapter entitled The Spiritual Masters, a short paragraph where Srila Prabhupada is writing in the verse 47 about the spiritual masters, and he talks about these 3 temples Guru Maharaj talked about. He says that Srila Sanatana Goswami is the ideal spiritual master, for he delivers one to the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Madan Mohan. Even though one may be unable to travel on the field of Vṛndāvan due to forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can get an adequate opportunity to stay in Vṛndāvan and derive all spiritual benefits by the mercy of Srila Sanatana Goswami. Srila Govind Dev Ji acts exactly like a Shiksha Guru, instructing spiritual master by teaching Arjuna the Bhagavad Gita. He is the original preceptor, for he gives us the instruction and an opportunity to serve him. The initiating spiritual master is the personal manifestation of Srila Madan Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is he is the original preceptor, for he gives us the instruction and an opportunity to serve him. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Sri Madan Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representative of Srila Govinda Dev Vigraha. Both of these deities are worshipped at Vrindavan. Srila Gopinath is the ultimate attraction in spiritual realization. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for being with us. We are so grateful.
Thank you, Divya. Thanks to Vrindarika Ramai for her desire that we come. It's because of the two of you and all of you that we're being dragged along somehow or other. I really am grateful to have this opportunity, and can't wait to see you all in person there in the Dhama and to just chant and be there. I feel like we're already there, because we started, the longest journey begins with the first step, and we're already there because we're already talking about it and on the way. So good way to stay absorbed. Vanchakalpadrushya kripasinave vachapatitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Śrī Vṛndāvana-dhāma ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol.
Hari Haribol. His Grace Vaiśeṣika
Hari
Prabhu ki
Haribol.
jai.
Hari.